Hello, hello. How's everyone doing? Good. So this is Miguel. He is one of the most fascinating people I've met there. I had a long conversation with him. He was talking to me the entire time about how clothes are communication. And we all know that, but we kind of forget, right? Like we put on clothes, we want to communicate how we're feeling that day or what we want to look like. But every day there, it's a really conscious choice about what they're going to wear. And he even told me, he said, clothes have a strong connotation. They can be like a journalist writing against the government. It means to be free. So this is someone who looks at clothing as a counter-revolution to the government. He runs a fashion blog. He's also a model, so he's on when I look at his Instagram, it just looks like he's living a completely different life than many other Cubans that I know. But it's really fascinating because he has embraced this. And for him to tell me that, he's not afraid of the government. He says, yeah, this is our counter-revolution. And a lot of that has spilled over into the nightlife scene, and now we're starting to see, if you recall a few frames ago when we're looking at the Malecon, you'll notice that a lot of the people there are black. And now we're starting into the nightclub scene, these higher-end nightclubs, and a lot of them are white. And that's something that has evolved since this social stratification with the two different currencies that have happened. So you have a lot of the white Cubans kind of moving up. They're the ones who can afford to have the new private restaurants that are filled with tourists, which then makes them even more money. And a lot of the poor blacks haven't been able to take advantage of that, so they remain poor. And that's different because Cuba used to be, for a time, they were all poor. I mean, this was a time when everyone was sort of on the same level, except for maybe some of the higher levels of government. But now there is this kind of rich class that has risen. And at every nightclub, you'll have a fashion show. And so there'll be models that walk a runway, and whatever local designer has new items to show. And it's this kind of really great atmosphere because everyone feels like they're a part of this new trendy thing. And you go to the Fábrica de Arte, and this place is so popular with tourists and Cubans alike. I know Cubans that go there as like their local dive hangout, and I once tried to go with some of them and ended up in line for 4 hours before I could get in, because apparently if you go, anytime after 9 o'clock now, it's too busy and you just wait in line. But they do these wonderful runway shows, and you're seeing really high-end design coming out of Cuba. And I was wondering, where are these people learning how to model? So I went to a modeling school, and I was looking at, when I found out it's being held in an old church. And it's fascinating to see these Cubans trying this other lifestyle. And it went all the way down to little kids. They're taught how to walk. They're taught how to pose, smile at the camera, how to keep their chin up. I mean, it was really interesting to see that this, and I talked to the gentleman that was running this kind of camp, and he was telling me that this was something that didn't exist not even 7 years ago. There was no such thing. You still get your modeling license from the Cuban government. So you can't be an international model until the Cuban government allows you to be an international model. But this is a way to make money. This is a way to go abroad. This is a way to get out of the normal situation that Cubans have been in. So again, I really wanted to study this idea of fashion and the communication that comes along with it. This is actually at a basketball game. So basketball is not as popular as some other sports right now. But this is a woman that's starting a beauty salon, a private beauty salon. Again, now they can make their own money. So the possibilities are endless. This was on one of those days where they're starting to put together, making sure the electric works, getting all the items in place. And you can just kind of see that there's this moment of these young Cubans saying, you know what? Instead of leaving, I want to stay here. I want to be a part of what's coming. This is another reggaeton artist. I met him, I was walking down the street and I saw him sitting out there smoking a cigarette, and I thought, that was just a perfect opportunity for a portrait. And then he said, hey, does your camera do video? Yeah, it does. And he goes, do you want to shoot our music video for us? So I went up and I, spent the next 4 or 5 hours helping them shoot their music video, which was its own experience. But it was the kind of thing where, in Cuba, the people are just some of the nicest I have ever known, and some of the friendliest people. And you get accustomed to being wary when you travel abroad, but when you're in Cuba, it just kind of overwhelms you with their kindness that you kind of let your guard down. And, I actually have to kind of, when I get back to DC, I have to learn to put my guard back up again, because I don't want to walk around at 3 a.m. with my cameras out, because there's actual danger there. But in Cuba, there was never a moment where I felt threatened. So again, there's this kind of looking at individuality, looking at each personal choice, whether it's a hairstyle, where they want to, grow long dreadlocks or spike it up. There's all these different choices that are being made right now. And what's interesting is that some of these ideas are now coming from some of the online magazines. These online magazines, again, are delivered through a USB drive. Now, this is Rebecca. She runs the magazine Garbos, and there actually are some of those magazines that are printed out in this exhibition, which I think is awesome, because she has been running a digital underground magazine that has become so popular that she can get any celebrity on the cover that she wants. And this is the only way this is distributed is somebody knocks on your door and hands you a USB drive, and you plug it into your computer and download everything off of it, and then hand the USB drive back. So with that, she's been able, and now she's fielding phone calls from restaurants, some of the private restaurants. They're figuring this all out on their own. And they're saying, you know what? Can we put an ad in your magazine? So now she's learning to generate different kinds of revenue streams to keep this magazine going.